Solar technology. There's people sometimes go right to solar PV. They have certain assumptions about what that is. There's lots of different things. There's passive solar, there's solar hot water, there's solar PV. There's, up here in the top right-hand corner, there's some examples of large-scale commercial thermal solar that for generation, it's very similar. You know how they generate power in a nuclear power plant? Steam. They use the nuclear reaction to make steam. So they do the same thing with coal, natural gas. They burn something, they get it to a high temperature to make steam to turn the turbine. Well, of course, solar can make things hot pretty well. So to a lot of these things, it's kind of like getting a magnifying glass, and you're magnifying it, concentrating it to create steam to turn a turbine. So that's a neat technology. It doesn't work, though, in the home or business application. You need to look at some other things for that. So this hopefully we're going to have something like this here soon here in Tennessee. But right now, these other ones are local, but this is Germany. And we don't have anything on this scale yet. But we're heading in that direction. And so I'm talking a little bit about the historical growth of PV technology. If this doesn't really go back, but if it did, you'd see a very small growth. A couple percentages a year, steady small growth, from the 70s really, and then right around 2002, 2003, it started going up, and even in this bad economy of this past year, has grown pretty dramatically. Locally, in Tennessee, just to bring this here. I've been promoting solar energy, doing workshops across the state for about 10 years. And getting anybody to come was difficult, and there was one solar installer, Big Frog Mountain, Chattanooga, and there was a couple guys that did in the garage, maybe an electrician that, dabbled in it, but not actual businesses. In the 70s, there was some activity around the solar hot water tax credit, but not too much going on. Now, if you go to the solar fair, you're going to see, just in the Knoxville area, a whole bunch of pretty serious businesses doing this for a living, and it's just been remarkable growth. Sharp Solar, which at the time, until a year or two ago, was the largest solar manufacturer in the world, opened up their U.S. plant here in Memphis, Tennessee. We're around 2003 at 20 megawatts. They went to 40, 60, 80, and now they're at 140 megawatts production a year. So just remarkable growth. There's not too many industries growing like this right now. Relatively still small, but if you look at the growth trends, it's just remarkable. Now, one of the things that you hear about solar energy, Tennessee doesn't really have, a very good resource. And I go, well, what do you mean? Let's look at, they always say, well, what about, Nevada and Arizona? Totally have a better resource, almost no cloud cover, absolutely true. There's really not that much solar there, though. Let's look where most solar is today. In 55, 60% of all solar PV panels in the world are in Germany. And let's look at their resource. We have twice the solar isolation resource, how good of a resource we have for solar that Germany has. It's totally an excellent resource here in Tennessee. The next biggest market is Japan. Very similar to Germany. Solar PV works great here. To say it doesn't work good here is completely inaccurate. Now, one of the things you do, and kind of the rationale for government incentives today is, when something comes out of the laboratory, let's say Oak Ridge National Laboratory is a breakthrough technology, and somebody starts making a few of them, and they try selling it, and you look at the price, and it's like, wow, really expensive. Definitely true for solar PV. But what we're seeing as the market is growing, in the past year, solar PV prices have come down 25%. Now that's an unusual drop. I don't expect that kind of drop to continue. That's partly a combination of manufacturing really coming in big time, and then the economy dropping down and parts of the solar market slowing, still growing pretty remarkably, but not quite as remarkable as the manufacturers were assuming because of the slow economy. But as the manufacturing has scaled up, the prices have come down, and this is a map talking about when PV prices are expected to be the basically the same price as regular grid electricity. The other technologies with combination of nuclear and coal and natural gas that utilities today produce power. And as you can see, certain parts, because of higher electricity costs and more advanced markets, better resources, happen a little sooner. That's what this represents. It's actually going to happen a little sooner. But most of the country, by 2015, solar PV is expected to be as cheap as any other way to producing new electricity on the grid. But that is happening largely because of today's incentives. And some states are incentivizing because they wanted to build their market for a competitive, advantage over their neighbors. Right now, China is doing that much more aggressively than the U.S. China is trying to take over all renewables right now, but wind, solar, PV, hot water. Here is, right now, traditionally, and this is starting to expand, of course, California was the solar leader. That's where leadership in solar PV, they did it before everybody else did. California did solar before solar was cool. But now you can see, New Jersey, Colorado, Nevada, and then you got some others, and we're in that other, but we're really not on that map as far as PV. Solar hot water is a very different map, which is curious, which is interesting. Hawaii and Florida, you see Hawaii is a dominant market compared to Florida and California, and the other is a much bigger pie. Solar hot water sales are more distributed than